have some fun. Welcome in, everybody. Mock Draft Live, presented by NFL All Day, the official digital collectible of the 2023 NFL Draft. I'm Colleen Wolfe, collecting my draft analysts here. We got Daniel Jeremiah, Bucky Brooks, fresh off Coachella, I assume?
Yeah, busy weekend.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I know that you guys are huge Bad Bunny fans. We were just talking about it. But I want to get our guest in here right now because he was not wearing a flower crown or a crop top this weekend, but he does have a new mock draft out. Peter Schrager, live from New York. Officially, the mock is out right now. You can check it out at NFL.com. And Peter, we've been looking forward to this more than the next episode of Succession. I am honored to have you on the show.
Yes, I feel like I'm one of the many Roy family members here talking with you. It's an annual tradition. We do this every year on Mock Draft Live. We go through my first mock draft. It gets torn apart by you guys, and I'm a glutton for punishment. Let's get to it. I love it.
All right, perfect. That's great. This is the perfect spot for you to be right now because, Schrags, I want to get it going right off the top, and it's Bryce Young going to the Panthers.
Yeah, Bryce Young goes first overall. I've been hearing this for weeks now. Whether or not it is the actual case, we'll see, but you hear so much talk about the Panthers loving the leadership, the intangibles, and the room that they're going to surround him with. Yes, Andy Dalton is there as a veteran quarterback, but how about Jim Caldwell and Josh McCown and Thomas Davis and, of course, Frank Reich? This is a guy, and Scott Fitterer, the GM, said it today. Bucky, you know him well. Said, we charted all of Russell Wilson's college throws. He had 3 passes batted down. Bryce Young, despite his height, only 2. I think he's the first overall pick.
All right, all signs pointing to Bryce Young going number 1 overall, but now you mix it up. CJ Stroud goes 2nd overall, but it's to the Colts, not the Texans.
Unheard of.
What?
Intra-division trade. Rivals do not trade in the division. I am hearing so much about the Texans just not falling in love with CJ Stroud, and I don't think they're going to just take a quarterback for the sake of it. I also think that there is something real to the fact that CJ Stroud is represented by the same agent who represented Deshaun Watson. I don't think that helps the case in any way. And I think that the Colts are desperate for a quarterback, and I think CJ Stroud's the second one. I think they would pull off this trade. The compensation piece would either be a future pick or DeForest Buckner, who actually played for DeMeco Ryans back in the day in San Francisco. He just restructured his contract. I'm putting that out there, not the Colts, not the Texans. But gosh, that would be a nice one. Move up from 4 to 2, and then you get DeMeco Ryans and you get DeForest Buckner move back. I don't know. Just putting it out there, guys.
Wow, Defoe in Houston. The Colts are going to trade like one of their best defenders to a division rival. This trade is so interesting because it makes me think, well, in this case, the Texans really don't like CJ Stroud at all, to the point where they're like, sure, come on in, division rival, and have this quarterback that will sink your team. All right, I want to talk about this a little bit because what makes Stroud, though, such a special player? Because you know that teams are probably going to end up trying to trade up for him if Houston does not take him at 2.
Well, it's fascinating what's happened over the last couple of weeks. Buck and I have always felt that the top 2 quarterbacks are Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud, whatever order you have those guys in. So to me, to not only not take him, and you can say there's risk with taking C.J. Stroud, but yeah, but there's risk of passing on him as well. And now you're gift wrapping him via trade to a divisional opponent. And Buck, from the latest I've heard, I wouldn't be shocked if you look at the second quarterback, if it isn't C.J. Stroud, if Will Levis ends up being the second quarterback off the board and Stroud's still available. So Peter's on it. I mean, he's definitely on it with this, and I think there's a lot of smoke where there's a little bit of fire as well.
Absolutely, and so the conversation, when you talk about Will Levis over C.J. Stroud, to me is mind-boggling based on how those guys played, but there is some of that, and here's what happens when you get to the draft. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder, and because we analyze these prospects and we spend so much time trying to figure out how they match up, which coaches like what, and how they can envision those guys playing, you just never know. And so because we have said that this draft is absolutely bananas, it's going to be a bit of a roller coaster based on the lack of blue chip players there. Who knows what it looks like? But in Peter's mock draft, where you talk about trading and allowing your division rival to have a QB1, man, you must feel very confident that he is not going to be extraordinary for you to gift wrap him to a division rival.
That part right there. Okay, let's move to pick number 3. Arizona, they stay put right there and pick up edge rusher Will Anderson Jr., who we saw on GMFB, and his personality is amazing.
Yeah, he was cool. We asked him, we said, hey, you're being described as the safe pick, as if that's a negative. He goes, I'm not just the safe pick, I'm the right pick. Oh, I like that. I like that out of him. Arizona, I think, would love to trade back. I don't think it's a secret. I think they would love to trade back, and maybe someone trades up to get Richardson. But gosh, if you're a roster as barren as theirs, You add Will Anderson, you've got a franchise cornerstone. I don't think you can miss that.
He also has a great sack celebration ready to go. At 4, the Texans obviously pass on a quarterback, and Peter has them picking up Tyree Wilson for new head coach DeMeco Ryans.
Yeah, Houston, Texas guy, 86-inch wingspan. Didn't get a chance to do many of the workouts because of the foot injury. But gosh, I feel like he's the Trayvon Walker of last year. The huge upside. And if the Texans are building in the likeness of DeMeco Ryans, it's going to be defense. I think this would be a great pickup.
Peter, let's go to 5. The Seahawks here picking up Geno's backup, maybe the future there, Anthony Richardson, landing in Seattle.
I don't think Seattle plans on being in the top 5 ever again, let alone the next few years, especially with how they looked last year. I go with Richardson here. This to me was a toss-up between Jalen Carter and Richardson. Jalen Carter, the blue chip prospect, might fit very well and would be a huge slam dunk in Seattle. But gosh, Richardson, a year under Geno, maybe a year and a half under Geno, and then you take the reins. There might be no drop off. Huge upside. I didn't know where to put him. I think Seattle would be able to take a quarterback here because they have the 20th pick. They can get another skill position player as well.
Okay, so with that, it's time for mock versus mock versus mock. A lot of mocks to compare at this time of year, guys. So here's where Richardson landed in all 3 of your latest mocks. DJ has him in Indy. Peter and Bucky both have Richardson going to Seattle. Only Bucky has him sliding all the way down to 20. So let's say Seattle takes him at 5 because, it is Peter's day here. How would this play out with Geno this season, and what would Richardson need to eventually thrive?
Well, I think it's a perfect scenario for him. And to me, with Anthony Richardson, you got to have a plan for him. And one of it is you're going to have a coach that's assigned to him specifically and let him work with Anthony Richardson, buy him a little bit of time, and Geno's going to afford that luxury. And I also think Geno will be a great teammate. He'll be a great mentor for Anthony Richardson. So if I'm Anthony Richardson, this would be kind of where I'd like to go. I think this would be a great fit, a great setup for him.
Okay, and thinking about this, think about Pete Carroll and how Pete Carroll wants to play. He wants to run the football. So now you have a quarterback who is a dynamic runner, a dual threat playmaker, someone that you certainly want to have on a low pitch count. Well, now Pete Carroll is invigorated because he has an opportunity to watch this young, dynamic Cam Newton-like playmaker grow under his tutelage. Oh, you talk about Pete Carroll maybe stand another 5 years because they now have a quarterback that you can build around Anthony Richardson.
The other thing is that I'm going to help Schrags out with some marketing here.
That's so nice of you.
Because you remember, you used to have the Lake Show, right? You're going to have the Freak Show. When you have DK Metcalf and Anthony Richardson on the field at the same time, you will not find 2 bigger freaks in the NFL.
I love that. All right, let's go to 8 because I like this move too, Peter. The Falcons, they add speed to their defense with Nolan Smith on the edge.
Yeah, local product. They know what they're getting. This is a former #1 high school recruit in the country. Went to Georgia. Kind of got buried with all the other stars they had there. And then the combine, I think he ran that 4.39 40. And I was like, wait a second. I feel like he's interviewing as well as anybody in this process. One of those dudes where was it the system at Georgia and it's just we didn't get a chance to see him because there was so much other talent and they're up by 40 in all these games? Or is it, hey, this guy is legit and this guy can be that dude? I'm fascinated to see where he ends up going. I know the NFL scouting community loves him. Didn't quite have the production that some of those Georgia teammates did.
Yeah, I wonder if he was overshadowed because of the talent there, because of his injuries. But this is the highest that we've seen Nolan Smith go in any of our past mocks. So, DJ, can you show us why he might go this high? Should he go this high?
Yeah, I can jump and show you the tape here because, to me, I think he's got a real chance of being a top 10 pick. I think if he doesn't get hurt, he is a top 10 pick. He's got a very unique skill set. He's only 230-plus pounds, but he plays strong. He can really go off the edge. That speed is not just an Indy fabricated 40 time. It is real. It shows up on tape. He's got a feel as a rusher. You see right here, Evan Neal oversets. He feels it. He gets underneath him and collects the sack. Again here, working against Clemson, shows you some bull. For a guy who's sub 240 pounds, he's able to really generate some power, and this is the most impressive thing that he does. Just get out and run and chase and make plays. I've used the comparison of Hassan Reddick with him as guys that are undersized that can really rush the quarterback. I was talking to a general manager the other day and brought up a usage plan for him, which was look at Micah Parsons. Look at how the Cowboys use Micah Parsons. We call it use him as a spinner, kind of a walk-around rusher, let him get on guards and really dominate. I think you could deploy that exact same game plan with Nolan Smith.
And what GM was this that you were talking to?
Well, no, I mean,
kidding.
Schrager talked to him as well, because every time I talk to a GM, he's just got off the phone with Schreg. So you know,
Stop.
we're talking to the same people.
Yeah, giving me false information to run with and ruin my good name. That's what they're doing.
Okay, so Bucky, I did mention the possibility of him being overlooked because of his injury history, but how would this defense change with Smith in it?
Well, I mean, we give them a dominant playmaker to build around. Defensively, DJ talked about the Michael Parsons plan, being able to move him around. Here's the thing about the Atlanta Falcons. When you're a team that hasn't had a dominant pass rusher in a long time, you had Vic Beasley for a little while. He had that 1 year where he had 15.5 sacks and a ton of forced fumbles. You're still looking for someone that can impact the game off the edge. Well, maybe Nolan Smith can be that guy. You have to do it in a different way, but his athleticism, his explosiveness certainly can get the creative juices flowing for a very dynamic defensive coordinator.
And he definitely looked great at the combine, so any concerns about his injury history should be put to rest after that performance. But let's just zoom out here for a second on the first 9 picks. Peter has 3 quarterbacks going here in the top 5. Of course, Indy trading up to snag C.J. Stroud. With the Texans, 3 edge rushers going early, and the speedy Oregon corner, Christian Gonzalez. They're rounding out the top 9. Now, the Eagles are on the clock at 10, and Peter has them going big.
It'll be Robinson to the second level and beyond. Touchdown. That's Bijan Robinson out into the open along the sideline.
Bijan Robinson to the end zone.
What a sweet move.
Robinson does it again.
10th overall, Howie Roseman takes a running back. What?
Yeah, look, running backs have not been selected by the Eagles since the 80s. Keith Byers, the last first-round running back selected. But you just gave Jalen Hurts that money. There are not many blue-chip prospects in this draft. Look, I love selling the draft for NFL Network. We've had about 6,000 prospects on Good Morning Football over the last few weeks. We'll take anyone who's going to be drafted. We'll put you on the show. Bijan Robinson is an actual NFL superstar. This is the guy. This is a blue chipper, okay? You're talking, there are a few names in this draft. Jalen Carter is a blue chip guy. Will Anderson, blue chip. Bryce Young, blue chip. Bijan Robinson, blue chip. Eagles, this is a luxury pick for a lot of teams. A lot of teams need pieces. Eagles don't. They add him in the backfield. Jalen Hurts has a running mate. You get him on the contract. It's a rookie deal. I know running backs aren't common in the top 10 anymore, but you're telling me you can add the best running back prospect of the last several years and add him to a team that went to the Super Bowl last year? Howie Roseman, he likes to zig when everyone else zags, or zags when everyone else zigs. I'm going with this one here. I like Bijan to the Eagles.
If I didn't have this mic back on, Peter, I would give you a standing ovation because I love Bijan Robinson, and I still am holding out hope that running backs can get their just due. We're going to turn on the tape, and I'm going to show you why this guy is so special. One, it's just the ability, stop-start quickness, the ability to see everything. 360 view, being able to get to the backside. He does. It's a very special player. You see him run through contact. Just the ability to consistently find the lanes and get through it. It's the power that he displays running through contact. We always talk about contact balance and how important it is for those special running backs. He has all of that stuff in spades. And I'm just thinking about the Philadelphia Eagles being able to also use him in the passing game. This is what running backs have to be able to do. We've seen it for a long time. Le'Veon Bell and some of these other guys that have been able to have a ton of success as an RB1, wide receiver 2. Bijan Robinson is special, and because he's so special, he is worthy of being taken in the top 10.
Can I just tag on to the end of this here real quick? Because there are 2 teams on a collision course in the NFC, and it's the San Francisco 49ers and it's the Philadelphia Eagles. The one advantage San Francisco has, they don't have a Christian McCaffrey in Philly. With Peter Schrager, they do now.
Well, the 49ers also don't have a Jalen Hurts.
No.
That's what I'm saying. But if you're stacking up those rosters and saying, where would you give the edge to the Niners?
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey makes a big difference.
Oh, I cannot wait to see what Howie Roseman does, because taking a quarterback or a running back top 10 does not feel like his style, but this would really improve that team. All right, 2 more quarterbacks are coming off the board ahead. Find out which surprise team is taking them. Oh, there's so many surprises ahead. Stay tuned. The 2023 NFL Draft is basically here, and greatness is on the clock, guys. Watch live April 27th through April 29th with NFL Network draft coverage presented by Verizon. Additional coverage on ABC, ESPN, and ESPN Deportes, plus streaming on NFL Plus. Okay, so Tennessee on the clock, and Peter has them staying close to home.
Hendon Hooker, this is what he does so well. He got free. Hendon Hooker, touchdown. Hooker down the middle, got him on the fly, and he's going to take it. Touchdown, Tennessee.
Bombs it long. Hendon Hooker hitting right in stride.
Hooker keeps it himself, and Hooker high steps to the 5, crosses over to his left into the end zone.
How do you want to spend senior day, son?
Wow.
Well, another surprise at 11. The Titans take the local guy, Tennessee quarterback Hendon Hooker, Peter.
You want to go viral? You want to get hits on a website? You want clickbait? Well, this is what I'm being told I'm doing here by putting Hooker before Will Levis. Honestly, after the Colts, I don't have a team for Will Levis in that top 10. And, everything I'm hearing is that Tennessee could be interested in a quarterback. I think they've got time with Ryan Tannehill there. And I think if Hooker doesn't have the injury, he might have been a higher rated prospect than a lot of these guys that we're talking about. I'm going Hendon Hooker, the only player ever that Jim Nagy told me from the Senior Bowl to be invited despite being injured because they valued him that much that they thought he should have the opportunity to meet with teams. You guys know, incredible young man, and he has been interviewing incredibly well. The ACL is a real issue. He's 25 years old. It's all real issues. I have him going before Will Levis in this year's draft.
Okay, so DJ, why might the Titans take Hooker over Will Levis?
Well, first of all, it's a veteran move by Schrager. Take somebody at the University of Tennessee, put him with the Titans because you know it's going to be very well received there in the state. But to me, you look at the way he played last year, he played better than Will Levis in the same conference against the same competition, Buck. He was more accurate, he was more consistent, he made better decisions. So that's irrefutable. From that standpoint, you shouldn't be shocked. To me, it's not the age, it's not the injury that teams have had an issue with Hooker. To me, it's been more the offense that he played in and how that translates.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to is how quickly can he adapt to being in an NFL-style offense. But that's why the interview process has been so important for him. This is a guy that's a certified baller, great IQ, great arm talent, plays the game really well. Did it for 2 years at Tennessee, too. And so when you make the comparison between Hendon Hooker and Will Levis and Anthony Richardson, he's been a better player in the same league, so he deserves the nod.
Okay, so Hooker has the edge here, but Levis is right there behind him, heading to Houston, Peter.
I was looking for a place, and if he's still on the board at 12, if they're not going quarterback at 2, I can't see them just passing on Will Levis and saying, well, maybe next year we get May or Williams or we go with it, or maybe we're bad again. They don't want to be bad. If he's sitting there at 12 and they've already got a stud defensive player at 2, I think it makes sense. I like Will Levis, and Liam Cohen is the former Rams offensive coordinator. He's now back with Kentucky. He had him in 2021. He raves about Levis, and to me, he raves about Levis. I'm not getting that sense from around the league. So nothing against Will Levis. I hope he goes as high as he could possibly go. After the Colts, I didn't have a team for him, so I'm putting him here with the Houston Texans.
I need to know more. Enlighten me on Will Levis here, DJ.
Yeah, well, let me show you what he's like on the football field. I believe he is my 12th overall player, so from that standpoint, it's a value pick.
Pretty good, yeah.
With where they got him. But first of all, you start with the arm strength. He's got plenty of arm. He throws this a little tight, nice release. He can really power the football into tight windows. Was not fully healthy last year, so you get a chance to see as much of the off-platform stuff, although he can absolutely do it. He was sacked, by my count, 978 times last year. Just got beat up, so the toughness is never in question. Here's an example of the athleticism. Let's go up. Let's go up and hurdle over the top here. A healthy Will Levis was a much better runner in 21 than what we saw after he was dealing with the toe and the shoulder in 22. Look, he's a talented player. There's a lot to like there. Peter mentioned the Colts. That, to me, and talking to folks around the league, seems to be the team. So if it isn't the Colts, I don't know where the next spot is. But there's still a chance he ends up going to the Colts when it's all said and done.
Interesting. I love a hurdle. I love a hurdler. I would love to see more of that, so that's great. What about at 13? Peter, the Jets, they get some protection for, hopefully, fingers crossed here, Aaron Rodgers by picking up Broderick Jones out of Georgia.
Yeah, and I don't know if Rodgers is going to be a Jet by the time they make this pick. That trade might happen day 2. It might happen in June. It might happen in August. I have no idea. I do know that the offensive line has really talented players, but several of them got injured last year, and the depth was an issue. You get back Becton, you get back Vera Tucker, you add in this guy, Broderick Jones, who I have as the first offensive tackle outside of Skralnik getting taken. So Broderick Jones makes a lot of sense. Protect your asset, Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, how about Bucky? You're going to love this one, I think. At 15, you have the Packers taking a wide receiver. JSN heading to Lambeau.
Yeah, look, Good Morning Football this morning, Kyle Brandt's like, oh, that's just to mess with Rodgers. They never take a receiver. They didn't do it the entire time Rodgers was there. Guess what? Their wide receivers room right now without Allen Lazard, it's not good. It's not good. It's young. You've got Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs. You need to add talent at some point. And I don't think this is necessarily a spiteful pick towards Rodgers because they never gave him that guy when he was there. This is what's best for the roster. And I think he's the first wide receiver off the board if it works out this way. JSN. I'm not going to try to pronounce the last name. I've botched it a million times in morning TV.
Njigba. Say it with me. Njigba. There you go. See, look, we're going through things.
Don't even ask me to do the Northwestern kid. If we do, I can't do that one either. So I've been trying.
Double A. Just double A. That's all you got to say.
Double A.
This does feel a little bit like a petty pick for the Packers to get a first-round wide receiver here if, in fact, Aaron Rodgers is gone from the team. But do you like the pick, DJ?
It's like you've been dating a girl for a long time. You never buy her flowers. And you go on your first date with the next girl, and here's a bouquet.
Yes.
Here you go, Mark.
Absolutely. It's the upgrade. So you want to make sure that the new girlfriend feels comfortable. And so what better way to make Jordan Love feel comfortable than to bring him a nice gift, a welcome gift. He's the new starting quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. Give him a talented receiver to be his number 1.
Oh, my gosh. I can just feel the anger.
You can feel the petty?
I can feel the pain and the pettiness. I do love the pettiness, though. Let's go to 16. Our first tight end off the board. It's Utah's Dalton Kincaid heading to Washington to team up with Sam Howell.
Yeah, I've been listening to you guys on the Move the Sticks podcast, for several different weeks, talk about how good this tight end class is. I think there might be 3 or 4 tight ends that go. I've got Kincaid as the first one going, and I got him to Washington. Look, Washington might be going to new ownership. We've got a new offensive coordinator and Eric Bieniemy, lots of changes, and yet I think they still need some more help at the skill positions. And of course, a guy like Kincaid can open it up. Remember, he's not Travis Kelce, but Bieniemy did quite a good job with a nice tight end that can do similar things. Obviously, it opens up the offense quite a bit.
I love the fact that Peter's such a big fan because personally, I love good afternoon football as much as anybody.
Move the chains.
As much as anybody.
Move the chains.
Kerwin, really?
It's an awesome pod.
We love Sirius XM.
It's a great show. I take nothing away from that. It's a great job.
It is a great show.
Pat Kerwin? Yeah, let's go.
Okay, Eric Bieniemy, as you just mentioned, Peter, is no stranger to having a great tight end on his team, having worked with Travis Kelce. I'm not saying that Dalton Kincaid is going to be a Travis Kelce, but Bucky, what are they getting with Kincaid?
Okay, so he can't be Travis Kelce, but you know what he can be?
What?
Watch it. He can be Chris Cooley 2.0.
Oh.
If you think about what Chris Cooley was able to do, he didn't come from Utah, he came from Utah State, but it's a minor detail. But Dalton Kincaid is one of the best route runners that we will see at the position. Soft hands, very productive because he's a matchup nightmare on the perimeter. As a flex tight end, he consistently gets open. And what better way to help Sam Howell get off to a great start? Give him a big body tight end that can get open the middle of the field. You think about the other weapons that they already have in place, Scary Terry, Dotson. They have an opportunity to really recreate this offense. So Dalton Kincaid can be a big-time playmaker for them.
Okay. I want to see what that looks like with Sam Howell as the quarterback. Maybe,
no idea.
Maybe all of these weapons will help elevate him
Maybe.
too. We'll see. But
Could be Jacoby Brissett, Colleen.
Could be. That's right, Peter.
By the way, is Lyle Brandt on that Good Morning Football
Yes.
show? Yeah.
Keep it coming.
Well.
Keep it coming.
Hasten McCourty? I don't know. Okay.
Move the chains.
10 through 17, 2 more quarterbacks off the board at 11 and 12. Then the Jets get Aaron Rodgers, some protection at 13. Hopefully, the Patriots get their secondary some help with Devin Witherspoon out of Illinois, and Pittsburgh adds some pass protection with Paris Johnson at 17. I cannot believe they pass on Joey Porter Jr. here, but that's okay. We're going to talk about him coming up. We have a deep dive into this year's class of defensive backs. Which ball hawk has the highest ceiling? How about the best hands? To answer these questions, you have to come back. We will be answering them. It's all next.
Joey Porter in coverage. Takes a lot of pride in his physical approach to the game. He's not just a cover corner. He will come up and hit you.
And it's intercepted. Branch steps in front and gets the pick.
He can be an electric playmaker.
What a game for Brian Branch. Pass play, Devin Witherspoon for the interception.
And did I mention something about Witherspoon?
A tremendous corner.
Yeah, he's been having an All-American year.
A lot of DBs coming off the board here. At 18, Peter, you have the Lions selecting Joey Porter Jr.
You mentioned it. I've got the Steelers passing. I just think those are huge shoes to fill, especially with Mike Tomlin, who was a coach of Joey Porter, his dad, and his coach when Joey Porter was an assistant. And if Paris Johnson's on the board, I think the Steelers got to go there. Lions, they reap the benefits. I think this guy is elite. He's a top 20 pick. And if the Lions can get him and Jalen Carter, as I have, that's a pretty good day one.
I love that. Let's go to 19. The Bucks, another corner gone. Maryland's Deontay Banks heading to Tampa.
Yeah, they re-signed Jamel Dean, which a lot of people were surprised to see, considering Dean had a really rich, free agent market. They bring him back, but they lose Murphy Bunting. I think that Banks is one of these guys that could go anywhere from 20 to 40. In this case, he can play. We know he can play right away. And the Buccaneers, Todd Bowles, that is a defensive-minded coach.
It sure is. How about down to 24? Doug Peterson, he has a DB coming home to him.
Dynamic, does it all. Branch is a guy that, everyone says you want someone who's maybe the most versatile of all these defensive backs. This might be the dude. He could play all over the place. He could be your slot corner. He could play your outside. And I just think Jacksonville is an embarrassment of young talent right now with what they did in free agency and the draft the last few years. They add another premier player here and a guy who's got big game experience.
So, Peter, let's take a look here at the defensive backs that went in your mock. Christian Gonzalez and Devin Witherspoon go within the top 15. Joey Porter Jr. heads to Detroit. Tampa Bay snags Deontay Banks. And Alabama's Brian Branch heads to Jacksonville. Okay, so it's time for a little cluster buster here. Defensive backs edition. Peter, I'm going to start with you. Most explosive DB in the draft.
The guy who's got the most pick sixes in the history of college football at the Division I level, I just don't know where he goes. Emmanuel Forbes out of Mississippi State. You're telling me this guy weighed in at the combine at 166 pounds. I don't know if that's a first-round pick just based on the size. And yet you're talking about explosive, 6 pick sixes, is all over the field. Did that in the SEC. He did not do that at some small school he didn't watch on Saturdays. An incredible talent. Once he gets the ball in his hands and he goes, I just don't have him in my first round because the guy is 166 pounds, and I don't know if he's ever going to get to that 180, 185 where you'd like to see out of a cornerback.
Okay, so maybe he'll be a steal for some team out there. How about which DB best tackler, DJ?
I'm going to go Brian Branch from Alabama. Peter talked about him being the most versatile guy. I also think he's the most reliable tackler. Spends a lot of his time as the nickel. You see him blitz, as you saw right there, and then in open space. He's just an unbelievably reliable tackler. So I'm a big fan of Brian Branch's game.
Great slot guy, very reliable. How about best hands in the DB class, Bucky?
Oh, we're going to go with the turnover king. How about Jair Brown from Penn State? 10 interceptions over the last 2 years, 15 takeaways throughout his career at Penn State. This guy is always around the football. And there's something about guys that are ball hawks, that are ball magnets. They tend to continue to do that when they get to the National Football League. Keep an eye on Brown. He could be a special one.
And, it's interesting. No Penn State DB has ever been taken in the first round before. So we shall see. Looking at picks 18 to 25. Here we go. Seattle uses their second pick to grab Lucas Van Ness at 20. Michael Mayer joins us in LA to catch passes from Justin Herbert. Baltimore gets some quarterback protection for Lamar, or his replacement. And 2 more wideouts off the board in Jordan Addison and Zay Flowers.
A lot of chain movers in that group.
A lot of moving the chains.
Coming up.
Gotta move the chains in football.
We're moving the chains to break. On the other side, Schrager's last few picks of the first round. Find out who's heading to Dallas coming up. Oh boy, everybody. Jahmyr Gibbs. How about this? Going to the Cowboys. Peter, tell me a little bit about this pick.
Hey, the Cowboys, they've actually had a really good track record of first-round picks. They've nailed it the last few years, despite what the internet might think. Gibbs, look, Bucky compared him to Alvin Kamara yesterday on Path to the Draft, and I nodded my head. That's what I see also. I think when you lose a Zeke Elliott, you don't just sit there and say, okay, Tony Pollard, it's yours. No, you continue to add I like this pick for Dallas, and it might shake a lot of people up, but you know what? He'll make an impact right away.
Yeah, well, the Cowboys, they could also use an offensive lineman here, but DJ, the Cowboys have had so much success drafting in the first round recently. When you go back all the way to 2014, there's only been maybe one player that did not hit in all of those years. So what would they get with Gibbs here?
Well, they're getting one of the 31 best players in the draft without question. The Alvin Kamara comparison has been out there. I noticed him when I saw him at Georgia Tech doing players for last year's draft. It's like, who the heck is this kid? And you find out he transferred to Alabama, and the rest is history. The home run ability, the home run speed is there. You see a little bit of Jamal Charles style to his play as well. He likes to stretch it. He likes to get outside and use that speed to pull away from you. He's a weapon in the passing game. You see here his understanding how to set guys up. Little angle route, gets up the field and goes. They'll split him out. You can do a lot of different things with him. A creative offensive coordinator is going to have fun. And once the ball gets in his hands, that's where the real enjoyment takes place, because he can run away from you. He can make you miss. And he's even sneaky strong and powerful when he gets out there in space. So in a draft where there aren't a lot of sure things, I feel like you know exactly what you're getting with Jahmyr Gibbs.
Okay, talent-wise, though, are there two first-round running backs in this class? I mean, I know that this position is devalued, but when you look at their sheer talent and ability, are there two guys that should go in the first round?
Absolutely. These two guys are worthy of going in the first round. You talk about Bijan Robinson is a star, a stud. And then Jahmyr Gibbs is a blue-chip player in his own right. DJ talked about what he can add. This is a guy who, very much like Alvin Kamara, has been able to up the ante for that New Orleans Saints offense. Jahmyr Gibbs can do that.
I hate that I like this mock draft. It's so much more fun to just rip this thing apart.
Right?
Come on. I was hoping you would.
Jeez, you did such a good job with this. Let's jump down to the Saints, picking at 29 here. It's a wide receiver making his mock draft live debut, Jonathan Mingo.
Yeah, look, I see him as a third-round pick in some of these mock drafts, fourth round in others. His name keeps on coming up when I talk to teams. And DJ, I saw you tweeted about it earlier this week. Senior Bowl shows up. The production's not there, but look at the size, 6'2", 220. And you look at these other wide receivers we're talking about, whether it's Smith-Njigba, whether it's, Addison, whether you name it, the size isn't there. This guy is 6'2", 220, comes out of the same school as DK Metcalf and, of course, A.J. Brown and recently Elijah Moore. I think he might be a first-round pick, and teams really are higher on him than I'm seeing in all these mock drafts.
I mean, you talk about building a basketball team at the wide receiver core, you need to have someone that can be that big post-up player. He is that guy. Big catch radius, does a great job of playing with physicality and toughness. And so you can envision a team saying, hey, we need a big guy on the outside because we have all these slot guys. That is certainly going to raise the value of Jonathan Mingo on some boards.
Okay, so let's skip down to the final pick in round one here. Peter has the Chiefs grabbing Patrick Mahomes, a new friend here, receiver Quentin Johnston.
Look, they won the Super Bowl, and everyone's like, look at in the biggest game, Juju stepped up, and Sky Moore stepped up, and Kadarius Toney stepped up, but it wasn't easy. I mean, Mahomes threw this team on his back in the AFC Championship game. It was basically him and Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Justin Watson as receiver. They need to add in the wide receivers room. They lost Juju in free agency, and I think Johnson's a first-round pick. He's right up there. Like you say, these guys, they all come in different shapes and sizes, that wide receiver. Johnson, incredible hands, can run routes, and I think is a very, very viable first-round pick.
Okay, so here's a look at the last pick, 6 picks in the first round of Peter's mock. Jahmyr Gibbs takes his talents to Dallas, and Buffalo and Philly take a pair of edge rushers, Miles Murphy and Will McDonald. The Bengals fill in a spot at tight end and pick up Darnell Washington to catch passes from Joe Burrow. The Saints, they grab Jonathan Mingo to pair with their new quarterback, Derek Carr, and Quentin Johnston wraps up the first round and goes to the defending champs. Peter, you have done it. You've done it again. You've done it all. I understand this is the first of 2 mocks, but we really enjoyed this one. I don't know how you top it.
Yeah, look, you start making fictional trades up in your head, and you start putting Hendon Hooker above Will Levis. It gets the internet going, but in all sincerity, I put a lot of work into it. I've talked to everyone I can. Hopefully this makes anyone a little bit more enlightened on this stuff, and you know how much I respect the 3 of you, and I love being on this show. So thank you for having me on this afternoon.
Well, we love you, Schrags, and if you guys want to check out the entire mock, it's up right now, NFL.com. Schrager, get out of here. You have like 17 jobs you need to do. Go get some sleep. We love you. Thanks again.
Good job, Peter.
Bye, guys. Thank you, guys.
Here is Smith-Njigba. Oh, what a move. Coming around, and he finds space. Jackson Smith-Njigba. He is shifty, isn't he?
Jackson Smith-Njigba, touchdown.
All right, it's time for Stock Up, Stock Down, presented by NFL All Day, and we are looking at wide receivers. You see Schrager's the mock draft right here, the wideouts he has going off the board in round number 1. I know Schrager likes these picks. I know he likes these fits. The question is, where are we at on these guys, Buck? So let's play a little Stock Up, Stock Down. Do we like it? Are we a little questionable on these? You ready to roll?
Okay, let's do it.
All right, let's start here. Jackson Smith in Jigba.
Oh, no, he's up. He's all the way up. He's all the way up because, one, the Green Bay Packers taking a pick like this is something that they don't do a first-round pick. But JSN is absolutely worth it when you think about what he brings to the table. Outstanding route runner, sticky hands, big-time playmaking ability when he has the ball in his hands in open field. He, to me, is more than a slot receiver. He is a guy who could be a number 1 receiver in an offense.
All right, you're positive. I like that. I like that fit as well. They usually don't go wideouts.
No, not in the first round.
Aaron Rodgers would be so hot.
Oh, he'd be so
I'm
mad.
going to go Jordan Addison, Minnesota, and I'm also going to go stock up. He's been my number 1 wide receiver throughout the whole process. Do I wish he was 15 pounds heavier? Yeah, I do. I wish he was a little heavier. I wish he was a little bit stronger. But he is a pure route runner. With Adam Thielen gone, you plug him right into that offense. Justin Jefferson and him teaming up. I like that fit there in Minnesota.
Oh, perfect compliment to Justin Jefferson in Minnesota. I like 2 route runners on the outside.
I feel like we're being too positive.
We are being positive, but we're going to continue to be positive because Zay Flowers from Boston College going to the New York Giants. One, we know the Giants love guys that have been BC Eagles, but this guy is a perfect
You're going
fit
Chris Snead.
for what they're
Old school, Chris Snead, BC.
Matthias Kunuka, they love him. But with Zay Flowers, he's a much-needed playmaker
another
that they
BC
need
guy.
in the passing game. Big-time playmaker, reminds me a lot of a young Antonio Brown without some of the craziness.
Gosh, I guess Coughlin, a big BC connection there with the Giants. Nice work there. All right, now we get to Jonathan Mingo here. He's been a riser. This is a coaching favorite right now. You talk to coaches around the league. This is their guy. I'm actually going to go stock down on this, not because I don't like the player. I do. I just think he's a second-round guy. I love his fit in the second round. I think that's where the value is. You see the size, the physicality that he possesses. There's not a lot of big wideouts in this draft. Like him, Buck, but it's a little early for me there.
Yeah, there's a difference between like and love, and that's the thing. When we're in the first round, we're talking about being able to love guys based on what they bring to the table. He is a big physical player, not quite a first-round talent, but someone who certainly can be a starter in the league. So now let's go Quentin Johnson from TCU. He's been a guy that's been up and down throughout the pre-draft process. I'm going to take him down just a little bit, and a lot of what you're looking at the wide receiver position is not the flashy stuff. It's not the speed. It's not the vertical. It's not that. It's the simple things. Catching the ball consistently. Because his inconsistent hands, I can't be up on him. He can be a big-time playmaker, but I worry about his ability to consistently bring in those catches. Because of that, I'm a little down on him. Not quite a first-round pick, right on the fringe for me.
I think he's inside my top 30. I think maybe my 31st player, so that's about where I have him. So I'd be neutral. I wouldn't be stock up or stock down. I will like this. I am stock up on Peter Schrager. I'm also stock up on Colleen Wolfe.
Oh, thank you, guys. Hey, still to come, is there a Brock Purdy in this year's draft class? We're talking sneaky good late-round quarterbacks next on Mock Draft Live. Back at the rest of the quarterbacks in Peter's mock. Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud, they go 1-2. Florida's Anthony Richardson heads up to Seattle, and Will Levis ends up as a Texan. So let's play a little matchmaker with some quarterbacks who aren't going in the first round. We're going to be like your Bumble, your Match, whatever you're into. I don't know. So, DJ, where's the best landing spot for national champion Stetson Bennett?
Well, I want to have some fun, so I want to send him to Chicago where he can be with Justin Fields, the 2 Georgia guys. They can get together. They can share Jake Fromm stories. It'll be fantastic. That's just a storyline I'm looking for, but would actually provide him some insurance if Justin were to get beat up again.
Okay, so Bennett with the Bears. Bucky, how about Tanner McKee? Where's the best fit for him?
Oh, we're taking him up north, Minnesota. Let Tanner McKee work with Kevin O'Connell. Pro-style offense. Let Tanner McKee settle in. You just think about what Kevin O'Connell could do in terms of putting him behind Kirk Cousins, letting him kind of be an apprentice, and then down the line, giving him an opportunity to be QB1.
Okay, so far heavy in the NFC North. Went Bears and Vikings here. What about UCLA's Dorian Thompson? DJ?
Yeah, DTR to BAL. I like him in Baltimore. Give him a really athletic backup quarterback. It's an unsettled situation right there. As long as Lamar Jackson doesn't have his deal, I think you got to add somebody to that room. He'd be an intriguing fit.
Okay, like that there. Max Duggan, Bucky.
Oh, Sean McVay.
There's a nice. Oh,
Sean
yeah?
McVay and the Rams. Look, he saw him take a chance on Baker Mayfield because of the competitiveness. Well, now they give Max Duggan an opportunity. to work his way into contention of being maybe QB2, maybe eventually something more. Sean McVay takes a project on and tries to develop him on the practice field.
He might get the shakes if he steps back into SoFi and think Georgia might be walking out that door.
Don't do that. Well, and we just heard from Matthew Stafford that he's back feeling healthy, feeling refreshed for the Rams. So
He better. He's the only quarterback they have right now.
Oh, fingers crossed, Rams fans. But that's it. That's going to do it for our Mock Draft Live today. We thank Peter Schrager for giving us tons of fun on his mock. Again, you can check that out on NFL.com. And then we have the Mock Draft finale coming up, guys. It's next Sunday, this Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on NFL Network.
And check out our Move the Chains podcast. It's
so good.
You guys are going to love it.
You guys will also really like Move the Sticks. Subscribe to that as well. Bye, guys.